Hello, I'm Sean Lim, and welcome to After 10. Relations between Korea, China, and Japan have ebbed and flowed, but to encourage harmony, the Trilateral Cooperation Secretariat has been working tirelessly for the past 2 years. On tonight's After 10, we meet with the organization's new Secretary-General for a talk on how our great nations are stronger when working together. Stay with us. To strengthen cooperation among Korea, China, and Japan, the Trilateral Cooperation Secretariat was established in 2011. Korea, China, and Japan agreed to take turns appointing a Secretary-General of the TCS every 2 years. After the first Secretary-General of the Trilateral Cooperation Secretariat, Shin Bong-gil from Korea, finished his term in office, Iwatani Shigeo from Japan became Secretary-General in September. Korea-China-Japan relations have chilled because of historical and territorial disputes. What kind of mediating role should the TCS play? We welcome the new Secretary-General of the TCS for answers. Well, thank you so much for joining us today on After 10.
Thank you very much for having me.
Well, you've been recently appointed as a Secretary-General for the Trilateral Cooperation Secretariat. What exactly does the organization do, and what is your role?
Yes. TCS, Trilateral Cooperation Secretariat, was established in September 2011. Apparently, very clearly, the purpose is to promote trilateral cooperation among the three countries. The agreement was made on that particular day among the three governments. In my thinking, there are three main tasks we have to perform. The first one is, of course, as Secretariat, we provide administrative and technical support to the trilateral consultative mechanisms. They have trilateral summit and foreign ministers meeting and 18 ministerial level meetings and many other consultative mechanisms. So our primary task is to support them to facilitate their activities. And secondly, we have to monitor what is going on in the area of trilateral cooperation and accumulate data, various data, and provide the data to the general public. I think it is very important role of the Secretariat to maintain the institutional memory of what happened in the past and then provide all this information to the people. And thirdly, as far as possible, we should do real activities to support these efforts by the government level people. So we explore the potential cooperative projects. For example, earlier this year, we organized a so-called TTX. It's a trilateral tabletop exercise. When three countries face a disastrous situation or some emergency, they have to cooperate each other to cope with the situation. So we made some scenario where three countries get together and work together. So experts and government officials meet together and did this exercise, and it was very effective, and they are planning to do again in the near future. So these are what we are doing.
So Korea, China, Japan, despite any kind of political disputes that they may have, you get to operate separately from the current conflicts in an area where you're trying to promote agreement, understanding, and more practical avenues of cooperating together. So the three nations 2 years ago committed to establish this entity, and they all contribute equally, like a mini United Nations just for Northeast Asia?
Yes, basically on equal basis on every aspect of our activities. So the budget will be contributed equally by the 3 countries, and the staff is also equally allocated to 3 countries. At the management level, Secretary-General, and there are 2 deputy Secretary-Generals, each country assign 1 person on a rotational basis. That means first Secretary-General was a Korean diplomat, Mr. Shin Bong-kil, and I succeeded him, and my successor will be Chinese, most likely Chinese diplomat, we don't know yet, and the 2 deputies are assigned to 2 other countries. And staff, we open the post to everybody in 3 nationalities, but we try to make it balanced among the 3 nationalities.
And the headquarters are here in Seoul?
In Seoul.
And the 3 nationalities are equally divided among the staff, so you get a real practical sense of people working together on these issues right here and now. It does seem, of course, important in a theoretical perspective, but why do you think it's really essential for us to be able to have this sort of entity?
Well, it's a very basic thing we have to think about. Actually, the trilateral cooperation is important in various aspects. First of all, of course, we are neighboring countries, and neighbors should have an amicable relationship. And secondly, in the economic aspect, it is beneficial for all the 3 countries if we can have almost like a unified market that will create a win-win-win situation among the 3 countries. And well, we should also look at the future. Asia is an area where we do not have the unified cooperative mechanism. For example, in South Africa, they have OAS. In Africa, they have African Union. In Europe, they have European Union, and so forth. So we should eventually create some kind of wider Asian regional cooperation mechanism. It is clearly indicated in the Vision 2020, on which 3 leaders agreed that the eventual goal of this cooperation is to create an East Asia community. So we should always bear in mind that this is a step toward this goal.
A lot of these issues are based on the past or historical wrongs. Do you think, from where you stand, you focus on the future and some of the more positive aspects of where we do get along? There are areas where all 3 countries have had very positive, very fruitful relations with one another. Is a part of your mission to move us in that direction as well?
As I said, even if there's bilateral problems, in some areas the trilateral cooperation can be promoted. For example, last week, the cultural ministers of the 3 countries met in Gwangju in Korea, and they agreed on starting this culture city project. They designate 1 city from each country to organize trilateral cultural events throughout the year, next year. So these kind of positive things can happen. Like environmental areas, the ministers continue to meet to cope with all these common issues of their concern. These are the very good example that we can promote trilateral cooperation, even if there is some bilateral strain among the three countries.
So I noticed from your organization that you encourage civic participation. Do you feel that citizens of each country are actually more amenable to have trilateral cooperation? Do you think most of the dialogue in terms of the tension are at the political level? Do you get a sense that through these citizen projects that people really want our countries to get along?
Yeah, I have that feeling. We organize various citizen participation events, like open house of our secretariat. We invite the local people in Seoul to come to our office and talk with us casually and let them know what we are doing. And we organize cultural events like tea ceremony and so forth. And many people come to enjoy this event every year. I don't feel this strain at the grassroots level. So hopefully that is common in all three countries.
Well, we've seen recently that Korea-China relations have improved, but Japan-Korea relations and Japan-China relations have taken a turn for the worse. What is your take on how that can be resolved? From your standpoint, you don't really delve into the whole political matters, but if people can learn from your example, what's a better way to move towards a more progressive path?
I'm no longer a Japanese diplomat, so I'm not in a position to talk about these bilateral issues. However, what I can say is that in this kind of foreign relationships, there are always ups and downs. After the downs, there will be a up trend will come, definitely. We cannot predict what kind of condition has to be met to change this course. Something unpredictable happen all the time. So usually the diplomats always hope that there will be a good turn of events which will improve the relationship. So we don't have to be too much, we don't have to despair at any time. And we always have to have the hope in the future for a better relationship.
Is there generally a feeling of amicable trust among the different diplomats of each country on the working level when people are actually engaged with each other? Is there a general sense that they want to cooperate? Do they get a little bit frustrated when the big leaders of each country start to strain relations?
Well, as a diplomat, you have to represent your government. So when you speak in official capacity, you always have to promote your country's idea and express the position of the government. But we always have the casual meetings, become good friends among diplomats. In that kind of atmosphere, I have never experienced that I have the difficulty talking with a Chinese diplomat or a Korean diplomat. I think the personal relationship is always very good. So I don't know. Well, the government-to-government relationship is occupy probably the major part of the bilateral relationship, but that is not all.
Right. So we've seen, culture being able to smooth the path, and also these relations among diplomats. Also, another big area that encourages cooperation is the economy. And right now we're in the middle of negotiations with Korea-China-Japan FTA, also bilateral FTAs individually between the countries. Also, this thing called the Trans-Pacific Partnership. So how do all of these agreements, eventually turn into a regional cooperation?
Well, first of all, CJK FTA arrangement is very ambitious but very important project we just started. It is important because if you look at the world economy, these three countries occupy the major part of the world economy. Three countries constitute the third largest economic bloc in the world. Well, the population-wise, of course, in total 1.5 billion people, almost like 25% of the whole population. And well, GDP-wise, 15 trillion US dollars that occupy about, I think, 20% of the total GDP of the world. So we constitute a very important part of the international economy. We have to look at this trade relationship among the three countries. This is also very big. For example, China is the largest trading partners for Japan and Korea. And Japan and Korea occupies a very big portion of Chinese trade, foreign trade. So if we can increase the intra-regional trade among these three countries, the impact is very big. There is an assessment, joint study made about 2 years ago, which says that by concluding this trade agreement, we can increase the GDP of each country. For example, in the case of China, maybe 0.4%. In the case of Japan, 0.3%. And in the case of Republic of Korea, 2.8%. So definitely it's worth trying to agree on this trilateral free trade agreement. There are a lot of other efforts going on, like you said, TPP negotiations also going on. The bilateral free trade agreement between China and Korea is also going on, and also RCEP and so forth. It is so complicated, the situation nowadays. But I think the goal is the same. So as to how far we can go in each framework may be different, but always it's toward the positive direction. So I think all these efforts can strengthen each other and create a better trade and investment situation in the future.
Well, we were supposed to have Korea-China-Japan summit talks in May, and those have been postponed. How do you think we can get back to the same table?
Well, as I understand, the main cause of this standstill of the Trilateral Summit is bilateral issues, although no country clearly state what the problem is. And well, I'm not really entitled to talk about these bilateral issues. We very closely monitor and watch what is going on. Hopefully the situation will change in the near future. Since 2008, the three countries met once a year regularly. So I sincerely hope that they can meet again by the end of this year.
And what is your overall vision for inspiring cooperation between the three nations?
Well, as I said, eventually it will lead to the regional cooperation mechanism. And well, we can look at the example of the European Union. They made a lot of efforts, and their eventual goal, of course, is all the member countries to relinquish their sovereignty, and they will constitute one, like a government in Brussels. It will still be a long process, a long way to go, but we should follow their examples. However, the situation is different. European situation in Europe and situation in Asia. Well, probably the biggest difference is the cultural diversity in this region. The religion is different, the ethnic group is different. So we have to look for our unique way for the integration of this region. So I picked this phrase, which I learned when I was in Indonesia, unity in diversity. We should not lose this cultural diversity in this region, but we should find a good way to unify this area while maintaining the cultural diversity. It's a difficult task, but I'm convinced that we can find a way to do it.
All right, well said. Thank you so much for joining us tonight and for your insight.
Thank you very much for having me. It was a really good opportunity to advertise our organization. Thank you very much.
And that does it for us tonight on After 10. Join us again next time. See you soon.